Hey guys, welcome back to Patched, your one-stop shop for patch news and updates. Today we're going to be going over Rainbow Six Siege's version 4.2 patch, and this is a huge patch focused on diversifying the game. The patch is going live on the 13th of September 2016. This is probably the biggest patch Ubisoft have done to date that hasn't introduced a new operator, so let's get straight into it, we've got a lot to cover. So, to start off, I'm going to start by reading the little introduction to this update. It should give you an idea of what Ubisoft are doing with this. So it reads, the mid-season reinforcements are arriving with force and introducing several changes to 3 operators, new gadgets, new attachments, weapon balancing and many bug fixes. You can expect these kinds of updates for future seasons as we try to implement changes we think will help improve the game while incorporating feedback from the community. The mid-season reinforcements arrive on Tuesday, September 13th, 2016, which I've already been over. So let's start on the reworked operators. This is the very interesting part. So the first one they've reworked is Twitch. So I'm going to read a little bit of the patch notes here. It says, Twitch is a good example of an operator that is popular, has a satisfactory pick rate and win ratios, yet her unique gadget is quite underwhelming. If you don't know, Twitch has a shock drone. It's basically a regular drone that moves a bit slower, it can't jump, and it fires a small taser. So they kind of think that this isn't fully utilised properly, and they kind of want to increase it so it's more useful as an ability and it's more generally used. At the moment, Twitch is mainly used for her guns, so they kind of want to buff the ability so she becomes an all-around good operator, not just good for her guns. So the first change we made to her is introducing the shock drone in the place of the regular drone in the preparation phase. So now, instead of using the regular drone, you use the shock drone. You can still shoot things, etc. You still can't jump, however, so Twitch's drone will be really limited in the space it can get to. However, you can get rid of certain placed operator devices before you even get into the map, which can be... I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I think it'll definitely make Twitch a lot more useful in the prep phase as well. So once you actually enter into the map, usually what will happen is Twitch will have 2 drones and the shock drone. So she'll have the 2 regulars, one of which will already be in the stage active or dead if it's been shot during the prep phase, and the shock drone. Now those 2 drones will be replaced by a second regular shock drone. So if the first shock drone survives, she'll have 2 shock drones. If the first one doesn't survive, she'll still have another one to use. In addition to these changes, the shock drone has been changed in the following ways. It now moves 30% faster. Before it moved a little bit slower, but it now moves at the exact same speed as all the other drones in the game. It creates less sound whilst moving, which was a dead giveaway and why Twitch's gadget was so easy to find, because you could quite honestly hear it around corners, and it was, even though sound propagation is a bit weird in this game, it was fairly easy to find where it is. They've removed the red light on the model so it doesn't stick out as much, and the range of the taser darts has been increased from 5 meters to 7 meters. Not a huge increase, and you'll notice there's no damage increases, so they're not trying to make this good at taking out operators or anything. They're not trying to do anything drastic like that. They're just trying to make it more of an actual utility tool as opposed to something that people don't really use as much because it's not as good as a regular drone. So those are the changes to Twitch. Let's get onto the Blackbeard changes. So Ubisoft introduced the Blackbeard changes with this. There are 2 things that we want to improve for Blackbeard. Gameplay wise, we've observed that the usage of his shield is far too passive. Most players just equip it at the beginning of the round and either keep it till the end or till their 2 rare death. Balancing wise, his pick ratio and win ratio have clearly shown that he is very powerful. So they've made 2 changes. Blackbeard now has 2 shields that he can attach to his gun, and he can cycle through them in a queuing system. So let's say for example you have shield 1 on. A shield 1 is it takes half of the damage it requires to kill it, so, or it's cracked or whatever. So you take it off and you put shield 2 on. So now you're not visually impaired, but if shield 2 gets destroyed, you've only got a damaged shield 1 left. Now when I read that I was like, what the fuck? However, the next change explains that better. The HP of the shields has been reduced from 800 HP to 150. So before, the shield had a HP of 800, so it could take 2 full force shotgun shots up close, or pretty much an entire magazine of any SMG at medium to long range. Now with 150 HP, it will fall at about the same speed as a heavily armoured player with Rook armour, I'd say, about that. The shield's durability is also displayed on the UI, so you can get accurate information as to when you should cycle and how much damage you can soak up with your shield, so you'll know, does my shield have 100 damage left to take before it explodes? Does it have 1? Should I cycle? Should I not? So these are some interesting changes to Blackbeard. I think he'll still see some picks, definitely. It's very interesting change, but I think they'll do well. Let's get on to Doc, and this is really interesting. Ubisoft's introduced these changes with, even though we've seen some great plays with it, most of the time Doc's stim pistol felt too situational. We wanted to give Doc a gadget that makes him more useful in more varied contexts. Giving his darts the ability to heal teammates means he can have a much more versatile role in strategic situations. In the same way Doc can revive himself in down but not out, Doc will be able to self-heal himself as well. So what they've done is this is a suggestion I've made on the Reddit, it's a suggestion lots of people have made on the Reddit and off the Reddit as well. It's not an uncommon or a rare suggestion, it's been suggested many times and I'm glad they've finally done it. Doc can now heal his teammates. So if you take a really early game shot and you're on 25 HP, go back to Doc, Doc will shoot you and heal you up. The heal per dart is 40 HP, so you kind of have to balance that. I think he still has the same amount of darts, so it's going to be a really interesting metagame in Doc has to manage not only his teammates' health and his teammates', basically life or death when it comes to the revive mechanic, but he also has to manage how many darts he's got. He has to plan ahead, he has to plan for the moment. It's going to be very interesting to see Doc players actually get smarter with this update, or in some cases get dumber, I guess. So also Doc can overheal now. This is very interesting. Shooting a dart at a fully healed teammate or himself will provide a boost of a max of 120 total HP points for a limited time. So I assume this to mean if you shoot a teammate that is at 80 HP and the dart obviously does 40 HP, that gets them up to 120, but it starts to drain. If you've ever played Team Fortress 2, you'll know of this mechanic. Medic guns in Team Fortress 2 can heal you up to, I believe it's like, 30% of your base health. However, that slowly starts to drain when you're not being healed. So obviously, seeing as Doc only shoots you once, I believe it will slowly start to drain down. So that's a very interesting change. I don't think it'll be too useful when it comes to players like, I'm trying to think of some basically any really fast defenders like Pulse, Caviera, those sorts of people. Don't think it'll be too useful on them, but it'll be really good for coming up against really tanky characters. So, Rook, for example. Rook, heavy armor, he's got 3 armor. You put Rook plates on him, you give him the overheal just before the fight. He has a huge advantage there, but obviously you have to be really smart with the overheals and really smart with your dart management. So let's get on to the new gadgets. This is also very interesting. So for the attackers, they have a new gadget in the Claymore. So basically, if you don't know what a Claymore is, it's a laser-based trip mine. And Ubisoft have wrote, some attackers can now use a Claymore mine, a deployable gadget to cover their backs while progressing forward, flanking, or when in a vulnerable position like sniping or droning. Plant the Claymore, and once a defender crosses one of its 3 laser rays, it will explode in a front-facing directional pattern. And they've given Claymores to Thatcher, who loses stun grenades, Twitch, who loses stun grenades, Glaz, who loses breaching charges, and a very interesting change, Thermite, who loses stun grenades and breaching charges, but gains smoke grenades and claymores. I understand why they took frag grenades off of Thermite a while ago, but I think this is a weird move. I personally wouldn't take breaching charges off of Thermite ever. Stun grenades possibly, but definitely not breaching charges. I don't think Thermite really suits a smoke grenade, but we'll have to see how that plays out. They did write about that. Since Thermite is probably the most support-orientated attacker, they believe that smoke grenades will better fit his playstyle than stun grenades. However, I'm personally not sure about that. So, not to leave the defenders out, they also have a new gadget. This is the Impact Grenade, and it reads, select defenders will now have access to an Impact Grenade, a grenade exploding on impact or after 1 second of throwing it. Perfect for close-range firefights when things go south, and it can be used to open holes in the environment. And they've given this to Caviera, who loses the Nitro Cell, Castle, who loses the Barbed Wire, Smoke, who loses the Nitro, and Rook, who loses the Barbed Wire. So, I feel like they've kind of buffed Castle up a little bit with this. Castle is now that tiny bit more viable because he has impact grenades as opposed to barbed wire. Rook, not too bothered about that change. It'd be nice to see a really slow tanky operator with these impact grenades. However, having taken the Nitro Cell off of Smoke and off of Caviera, this is a step in the direction of, Nitro Cells are basically the mess of the game. There's no counter to Nitro Cells. But now by giving Caviera and Smoke these impact grenades and taking the Nitro Cells, Nitro has become slightly more rare in the game. Again, you have to be playing the operators that actually have nitro cells, such as Pulse. And obviously with the Pulse nerf, that's not going to happen too much. So they're on the right way. However, I feel that maybe impact grenades won't be that great in terms of balancing versus nitro cells. It doesn't feel like there's much of a counter to impact grenades, which was the problem with nitro cells. However, because they have a 1 second fuse, you can't lob them pretty much halfway down the map and it'll impact right next to someone. If it blows up in midair, it blows up in midair. So you have to be smart with your plays about it. There's also some new attachments. The muzzle brake, which is an attachment that diminishes first shot recoil. This is on a lot of weapons. If you want to see the full list of weapons it's on, do click the link below. They've added the heavy barrel, which is an attachment that decreases damage fall off at long distances. So say if at 18 meters you do minimum damage, you'll now start to do minimum damage further away. So I don't know how best to explain this. Your maximum damage range will be increased. There we go, that's better. It says it'll vary per weapon, but will be around 10 to 20% extra damage increases at long range. This is on a variety of weapons as well. Again, you can click the link below. Now, for the rest of it, there are some general tweaks and improvements. Valkyrie now has 3 black eye cameras instead of 4. IQ and Montaigne will be able to equip and unequip their gadgets faster. They've also changed Twitch's 417, some other weapons, but if you want to see those notes, they're fairly minuscule changes apart from Ash's G366, which received some interesting balancing. So if you want to read the full patch notes, do click below. I don't really go over smaller changes and bug fixes in these videos. I do try and go over the big changes and the things that are going to affect the majority of players. So to summarise, this is a huge patch full of diversity and some very, very welcome changes. Again, if you'd like to read the full patch notes as well as see the demonstration videos which are attached with this that show off the new gadgets, do go ahead and click the link below to the official patch notes and read through that if you'd like to. If you've enjoyed this video, do go ahead and drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all my video and stream content for Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, Fallout 4, GTA 5 and more. I'll be streaming Rainbow Six Siege tonight at about 7:30 to 8 PM GMT. So again, do subscribe if you don't want to miss that. I stream regularly, I make videos regularly, so there's always something new on the channel. Again, thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.